about what makes Canada different from our neighbours in the US, what are the first things that come to your mind? Universal health care, union rights enshrined in our Constitution, parental leave and childcare, a woman's right to choose. None of these defining features of Canada happened by accident. They happened because working people organized and because our party, the NDP, fought for them. These were things won by workers, by organizers, by New Democrats that believed that ordinary people in this country deserve power, dignity, and respect. And that is exactly why the CLC, along with the CCF, back in 1961, created our party in the first place. We created a party of working people to fight for working people and of working people. The Canada that we love today and the Canada that we in this room are determined to make better is a direct result of decades of struggle by this party and by this movement. My friends, rebuilding Canada and the NDP is not just a political project. It is our patriotic duty. It was the same love of country and community that brought together farmers in the prairies and workers across Canada in 1961 to build a political alternative to the old two-party system. We created the NDP, and together we built universal health care. We built pensions, we built employment insurance, maternity leave, union rights, and so much more. I want to remind us that nobody gave us those things. We fought like hell for them, my friends. In the last Parliament alone, using the very limited leverage that our minority government gave us in the last Parliament, Jagmeet Singh and our NDP MPs delivered a sustainable jobs plan with workers at the decision-making table. They delivered free diabetes medication and free birth control. They delivered a national dental care plan. They delivered anti-scab legislation, a school nutrition program, and a childcare program. And my friends, those wins matter. And they happened because New Democrats fought for them. Because let me tell you, no one else in Parliament was going to fight for them. Working-class Canadians have never needed this party more than we need it today. You know, there's no sugarcoating it. Working-class Canadians are facing major headwinds, and that is exactly why we need the federal NDP back on its feet, fighting for what matters right now. You know, in the first 2 months of this year alone, we lost over 109,000 full-time jobs in this country, the highest single loss since 2009. Our unemployment rate persistently sits around 7%, and it's much worse in places that are directly hit by Trump's trade war. And it's even worse for young workers. And it is not going to get better, as Trump's wars raise the cost of living and trigger a global economic crisis. And at the same time, we know that food bank usage is at an all-time high. Nearly 2.2 million individuals had to use a food bank in a single month last year. A fifth of those food bank clients are working people who work every single day, but their pay does not stretch to put food on their very tables. And in the meantime, we have the top 100 CEOs of this country, making about 250 times what the average worker makes all year long. That is the story of Canada right now. We have workers producing the wealth, but workers are not getting their fair share. Everywhere I go across this country, workers tell me the exact same thing. Rent is crushing them. Groceries are too expensive. Gas prices are too high. Public services are stretched to the breaking point, and their jobs feel extremely precarious. You know, right now in this country somewhere, there's a single mom working 2 different jobs, trying to pay the rent and still put food on her table. There's a middle-aged union worker who built a decent life in a one-industry town that's now watching the news day in and day out to find out what's going to become of his industry and of his job. There's a young couple doing absolutely everything right, but still completely unable to imagine ever owning their own home. There's a gig worker being squeezed by an algorithm, underpaid, disrespected, and told just keep hustling harder because the boss needs to get richer. He has no job security, no benefits, and a tattered social safety net that isn't going to catch him when he falls. There's a young person with crushing student debt, unable to find a job in their field, never mind trying to have an independent life outside of their parental home. And there's a child somewhere in this country stuck on a waiting list for disability supports that are desperately needed to allow them to grow and thrive in their community. Those are the people in our communities across Canada, folks. Those are the people who need this party. Those are the people who are depending on us to get it right. And that is why this convention matters. Now, let's also be honest about something else. Our last election was a wake-up call. In far too many working-class communities, the Conservatives made gains where we failed. We failed, my friends. In riding after riding, including union towns and industrial communities and places with deep labour roots. Workers who should hear themselves reflected in our message heard something else, something that was more meaningful to them, from Pierre Poilievre. It was a simple message. He promised them a more powerful paycheck, more control of their lives, a feeling that somebody understood their fear about the future for themselves and their children, and the resulting anger of having done absolutely everything right, but still feeling incredibly vulnerable. They felt that someone was speaking to them in a meaningful way that wasn't dismissive of their kitchen table reality. It was false, it was cynical, but it was really direct, and it worked. So our rebuild has to begin by taking that seriously. Not by panicking, not imitating the right, and certainly not by talking down to working people. We need to meet people where they are at. We need to address their immediate economic concerns with urgency, clarity, and a righteous anger about what's wrong. That has to be our priority number one. We need leadership that can speak with hope for what can be better and offer an actual roadmap to pave the way to getting there. And you know, my friends, we cannot accomplish any of the really important things that we are going to be debating at this convention this weekend if we don't get those basic facts right. So I want to challenge each and every one of us in this room. When we leave here on Sunday, what are you personally willing to do to help tangibly rebuild our party? Listen, we can argue amongst ourselves all that we want. But if we only do that, we are abdicating our responsibility to the very people who need us. Are we prepared to leave the social media debating club and actually talk to people about our shared values as progressives in this country? Are we prepared to be on the ballot and to put in the hours and to do the work that show workers that we have their back across this country? Folks, this rebuild is bigger than any one of us, bigger than any one of the leadership candidates who are going to lead us forward. It's going to require every single one of us to bring our best selves and to have steely resolve and to focus on the work ahead. Our values and determination can move mountains if we stick together. Because I want us to remember this. The one thing that Pierre Poilievre is never going to admit. It's the new Democratic Party that is the party of raising wages, protecting workers, and fighting for better outcomes for families and communities across this country. Folks, we have the record. When Rachel Notley was Premier of Alberta, workers there had the highest minimum wage in the country. Today, after 6 years of a Conservative government, they have the lowest minimum wage, with no increase in 6 years. That is the NDP difference, treating people with respect and dignity. Listen, we know that a union card in your back pocket is a ticket to a more powerful paycheck, to more respect and dignity, to better health and safety. The union advantage is significantly higher wages and job stability. In British Columbia, the NDP government brought back single-step card check certification, making it easier for workers to organize and less employer intimidation. And my friends, what has followed is a wave of unionization, including, for the first time ever, Amazon workers in Delta and Uber drivers in Victoria. That is the NDP difference. And right here in Manitoba, you just listened to my awesome Premier Wab Kinew. But in all of the things that he has done, he has also tied major public projects to stronger labour standards and good union jobs in this community. He has made unionization easier in Manitoba. And by doing so, he has created thousands of good-paying infrastructure jobs. He's improved worker safety, and he's made life more affordable for Manitobans. That, my friends, is the NDP difference. So, my friends, let's be clear. It is our party, it is the NDP that is the party of more powerful paychecks. We know when New Democrats govern, workers do better. They live more affordable lives, they have more rights, more respect, more dignity, and our communities thrive. That is our story, that is our purpose. We should say it proudly, and we should say it absolutely everywhere we go. And I want to remind us that right now in this great country of ours, there are nearly 200 elected New Democrats that are fighting day in and day out to serve working families. They are serving in government in BC and in Manitoba. They are entering the next elections in Nova Scotia, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Alberta, the Yukon, as the governing alternative, folks. And let me ask you this. Wouldn't it be good, and wouldn't it be right, to finally put an end to Danielle Smith's anti-worker, anti-Canada politics of division? Look, my friends, the rebuild of our federal party has already begun, and all of you are central to it. And I really want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank our leadership candidates who stepped forward in this race. They have brought new energy, ideas, conviction, and a renewed sense of purpose for this moment. That makes us all proud. Like, let's give them a hand, because they have stood up for us and have brought their ideas to the table. You know, and tomorrow, on Sunday, when a new leader is chosen, we are moving forward together, not as factions, not as camps, but as one party, one movement, one fighting force for the working people in this country. I want to be blunt with you. It's solidarity or bust. This is no different than going to the bargaining table for my Labour family. If we are divided, we fail. If we are united, we win. And you know, we know that our enemies want us divided. They want us to be cynical. They want us to be fighting ourselves instead of them. And they love it when we lose confidence in ourselves. But they do not understand the deepest truths of this movement. It's solidarity forever. You know, just a few blocks away from this convention hall, as we heard from Leah, 30,000 workers in 1919 walked off the jobs against economic despair, high inflation, and low wages. They faced repression, arrest, violence, and bloodshed. But what held them together was understanding that an injury to one is an injury to all, so it's solidarity forever. And in 1981, postal workers in this country, they stayed out in the cold to win paid maternity leave, not just for themselves, but for every single worker in this country. They didn't flinch. They didn't give up. It's solidarity forever. And just last summer, when Air Canada flight attendants were ordered to break their strike and to give up on their demands for fair pay and respect, you know what they said? Hell no. At the risk of fines, imprisonment, they defied the government's order because they knew that they had all of Canada and every single union standing behind them. It's solidarity forever, my friends. That is what solidarity does. It turns private pain into public power, and it turns anger into action. It turns isolated workers into a movement that can change a country, and that is exactly what we have to do again. Because this country needs a tough NDP, an NDP that's rooted in our communities, an NDP that is never distracted from fighting for the working class, an NDP that's not afraid to name corporate greed, and an NDP that is ready to contest for power and get results for working people. My friends, that is our demand. That is our calling in this room. And if we do it together, if we rebuild with discipline, courage, and solidarity, then this party will not just recover. We will rise. We will win. And we will make Canada a better country for working people and for everyone who built it. Solidarity, my friends, and now let's go kick some ass for the working class.